There are coasters we aren't huge fans of, such as Maverick at Cedar Point. We even made an entire video about it. But even Maverick has some redeemable qualities, and we'd ride it again. But some coasters are so bad that it's pretty much a one and done scenario. I mean, as a coaster enthusiast, we'll ride anything at least once. For the credit, obviously. But after that, the park can demolish the ride for all we care. And in some cases, they did. In this video, we'll go over some of the worst coasters we've been on, starting with the least worst and ending with the worst of the worst. But before we begin the list, please give this video a like, subscribe to our channel, and turn on post notifications for new uploads. It helps us greatly with the YouTube algorithm and is very much appreciated. Okay, time to rip off the band-aid and get to it. Riding a roller coaster more than 900 feet in the air sounds like a thrilling experience. However, High Roller atop the Stratosphere Tower in Las Vegas was one of the most boring coasters we've ever been on. It had a track length of only 865 feet, reached a top speed of only 30 miles an hour, and didn't have a single inversion. But for some reason, the manufacturer thought it necessary to equip the trains with over-the-shoulder restraints, which served no real purpose and restricted the incredible view to the side of the ride. High Roller operated from 1996 until 2005, when it would be cut up into small bits small enough to fit inside the tower's elevator for one last ride. When Cyclone opened at Six Flags Magic Mountain in 1991, it was a pretty decent ride. I mean, you can't go wrong with cloning one of the most iconic roller coasters in the world, the Coney Island Cyclone. But only a few years later, the ride would sustain structural damage after the Northridge earthquake struck the Los Angeles region in 1994. From that point on, Cyclone would never be the same. Trim brakes were added and the trains would just crawl through each turn, which perhaps was a necessary break to the jackhammering which came before it. But at the same time, it gave you way too much time to think about what was coming up afterwards. On a positive note, at least the B&M trains had some nice padding for your bum. And then, over on the other side of the park stood an even less desirable coaster. Six Flags Magic Mountain was on a roll, no pun intended, when they added Flashback just 1 year after Cyclone. It came to the park as part of this Six Flags ride rotation program, originally starting off at Six Flags Great America as Z-Force, but was removed for being not so great. And then it was sent to Six Flags Over Georgia for a couple years, where it gave riders such a beating to the head that they didn't even have Georgia on their minds anymore. In 1992, it landed at Six Flags Magic Mountain, where it would be renamed Flashback, which is a rather appropriate name because I'm getting flashbacks right now just thinking about how horrible the ride experience was. It was an interesting concept for sure, but the train design just completely killed any joy that might have been possible. Flashback would torture guests for 11 years before being removed in 2003. Thankfully, the steel rails of pain were slashed into tiny bits and sunk to the bottom of the ocean. And now James Cameron wants to make a movie about it. The next coaster on this list is a banger, and not in a good way. Bollinger and Mabillard are known for their smooth, comfortable, and very enjoyable rides. However, Vortex at Carowinds is not one of them. The ride opened in 1992 and was B&M's third coaster. Now, this stand-up coaster isn't painful so much in terms of crushing your manhood, but the headbanging makes it feel like you were in the ring with Mike Tyson. You better check to make sure you have both ears at the end of the ride. Now, perhaps Vortex can be saved and improved by converting it into a floorless coaster, as B&M did to the two coasters which came before Vortex, 1990's Iron Wolf at Six Flags Great America, which is now at Six Flags America as Firebird, and 1991's Vortex at California's Great America, which is now Patriot. Whoa, that's a lot of America parks. Anyway, a floorless would be a nice fit at Carowinds. We could have done an entire list of Vekoma SLCs, but wanting to pick only one, we had to go with Kong at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom as the worst of the model. Perhaps it has something to do with it being the second oldest Vekoma SLC. Kong first opened at Opryland USA in 1995 before being relocated to Discovery Kingdom in 1998 after Opryland USA closed for good at the end of 1997. Now, we love headbanging to some heavy metal music, but the headbanging which comes with a ride on Kong is something that we could do without. Six Flags Discovery Kingdom deserves better. In a park with a limited amount of space for a new coaster, it's mind-boggling that Kong is still around. Six Flags, please do something about this torture device. Okay, we're halfway there. Be right back. I'm gonna go take something for this headache.
It might be a tumor.
It's not a tumor. It's not a tumor at all.
Okay, I'm back. Where was I? Oh yeah. In 1997, in an effort to compete with Six Flags Magic Mountain, Knott's Berry Farm turned to Togo for their next big coaster. Okay. Out was Wacky Soapbox Racers, a fan favorite, and in was Windjammer Surf Racers, which was an ironic name because unlike the type of ship which relied on the wind for movement, this coaster version of a Windjammer would valley in the wind. It was also an uncomfortable experience with its massive over-the-shoulder restraints. Windjammer closed for good in the year 2000, only 3 years after opening. Talk about a bust. But then it was replaced with Accelerator, which is currently a giant lawn ornament, but that's another video. We enjoy a good Aero Mine Train coaster, but Dahlonega Mine Train at Six Flags Over Georgia isn't one of them. It opened in 1967 along with the park, and it's the second oldest mine train after Runaway Mine Train at Six Flags Over Texas, which we enjoy quite a bit. Maybe it's just a sophomore slump, it happens. But yeah, it's the worst mine train we've been on. It's basically a series of boring pre-lift track sections that do nothing but jerk you around worse than my former employer, of which there are 3 sections. There are 0 standout moments. It is slow, boring, and a giant pile of fecal matter. There's just nothing good to say about this one. Six Flags Over Georgia can't remove it soon enough. A bench or another Dippin' Dot stand would be more exciting. Back to Las Vegas again for another wonderful coaster. Big Apple Coaster, formerly Manhattan Express, or as we like to call it, Manhattan Express, is another Togo masterpiece to make our list. Also from 1997. The theme of the ride is a New York City taxi ride, but with the beating that it gives you, it should have been to a New York City mugging. It's hard to imagine that a coaster that's 203 feet tall, hyperstatus, is gonna be bad. But it is. Togo clearly copied Aero's homework when it came to how to transition elements, but then totally left out the parts which makes a coaster fun. Well, the dive loop is unique and kinda good, but that's about it. Maybe the ride was built as a way to forget all the money you lost in the casino. I don't know, but this coaster really needs to go. Pegasus at Mount Olympus Water and Theme Park in Wisconsin wouldn't even be on this list if they just simply maintained it. Perhaps the park doesn't have enough cheese. It was probably great when it opened in 1996, but when we rode Pegasus in 2019, we had something happen that has never happened on a coaster before. A lap bar coming up mid-ride. As the train rattled its way across the track, my lap bar kept slowly coming back up, and I had to keep clicking it back down. But yeah, the experience is something I wish on no one. It's a shame because we really love Custom Coasters International. So what's worse than almost dying on a coaster? We're back at Six Flags Magic Mountain again for a coaster so bad you wish you were dead. Green Lantern is the worst coaster the park has ever built. Worse than Flashback and Cyclone combined. Oh, but it had so much potential. When it opened in 2011, we were quite excited to ride after years of hearing praise for Insane at Gröna in Sweden, which is the same model. But Six Flags Magic Mountain killed a good thing by limiting the flips on the ride, which ended up putting forces on riders that weren't meant to happen. Like the punch to the gut dropping into the station face down as you hit the brakes. Somehow Green Lantern the roller coaster ended up being worse than Green Lantern the movie. Sorry Ryan Reynolds, we still love you. The ride closed for good in 2017 and would never reopen. In 2019 it was removed and sent to Laron in Canada set to reopen in 2020, but it never did. Okay, this concludes the worst coasters we've been on. It was painful to bring back all these memories, but we did it just for you. Drop a comment below and let us know the worst coasters that you've been on. And as always, thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.